A man wakes up one morning to find himself completely transformed into a giant, multi-legged insect in his own bed. He immediately checks the time, panicked that he has already missed the early train for his morning commute. To him, the loss of his humanity is less terrifying than the prospect of being late for his shift. This is the world of Franz Kafka. The common image of Kafka is a depressed intellectual from the 1800s, but his writing pioneered a specific brand of modern anxiety that feels incredibly current. On Goodreads, the Metamorphosis has over 1.3 million reviews. It is currently reaching more readers now than it ever did during Kafka's own lifetime. This story resonates today because it identifies a specific crisis, the feeling that your life only has meaning as long as you are producing something for someone else. In the novel, the protagonist, Gregor Samsa, is the only person in his family with a job. He carries the entire household on his back. Once he becomes a bug and stops bringing home a paycheck, his family's pity quickly turns into resentment. He is no longer a son or a brother. He is just a burden they want to disappear. This dynamic mirrored Kafka's real life. His father, Hermann, was a self-made, domineering businessman who had no patience for his son's sensitive, intellectual nature. To please his father and earn some form of validation, Kafka abandoned his interest in chemistry and spent years getting a law degree he didn't want. He ended up trapped in a soul-crushing bureaucratic routine, working as a lawyer by day and only finding time to write late at night as a way to cope with the noise in his head. Gregor's transformation into a bug is a direct metaphor for Kafka's own life. It represents the realization that sacrificing your dreams for someone else's approval doesn't bring happiness. It only leaves you feeling alienated from your own body. Walk through the modern internet and you'll find an endless stream of content demanding that you grind and optimize every waking hour. This culture has created a scale where we assign our human value the exact same weight as our economic output. Kafka's story shows us what happens when the output side of that scale vanishes. When you stop being useful to the system, you are treated like a pest. Kafka lived in constant social exile. As a German-speaking Jew in a Czech-majority city, he never felt fully accepted by any community he inhabited. That isolation made him view marriage as a prison and human connection as out of reach. Today, that same disconnection drives people toward AI companions just to find a sense of belonging. Because he documented these feelings of inadequacy a century before the internet, Kafka has become a relatable figure for anyone struggling to find their place in a hyper-connected yet lonely world. In his 30s, Kafka contracted tuberculosis. The disease left him physically fragile and forced him into a series of sanatoriums. He finally found a supportive partner in Dora Diamant, but by then the infection had moved to his throat. He spent his final days unable to eat, eventually starving to death at age 40. On his deathbed, feeling his life's work was a failure, Kafka gave best friend Max Brod a final instruction: burn every unpublished manuscript he owned. Brod ignored that request. He kept and published the papers, ensuring Kafka's voice survived his death. Without that specific betrayal, the most insightful record of modern alienation would have disappeared into a pile of ashes. Kafka survives in the cultural zeitgeist because his work fills a psychological vacuum left by the modern obsession with achievement. The Metamorphosis teaches us that our fundamental value isn't something we earn through a paycheck or a productive day. His writing gives a voice to the feeling that you don't fit the mold society or your parents have built for you. Gregor Samsa's tragedy is that he dies believing he is a burden because he can no longer work. For a modern reader, seeing that horror play out acts as a mirror, reminding us to reject that lie and choose self-acceptance instead.